Welcome to the Let's Chat Show, where biblical truth and wisdom on relationships are discussed through candid and authentic conversation.
Welcome to Let's Chat. I am so excited about this evening episode. We have a guest co-host. Her name is Elder Unita Ruth. Our co-host James Wright cannot be here this evening because he has he had a last-minute private engagement to come up because he owns his own business. And so we are excited to have Elder Unita Ruth on tonight. She is from Connecticut, and I'm going to allow Unita Ruth to give you a little bit of information about herself before we dive into tonight's topic. Unita, you want to greet the folks?
Yeah. Good evening, everybody. I am, Elder Unita Ruth. I am from Hartford, Connecticut. I serve at the Citadel of Love here in Hartford. I am the program manager for the YWCA Hartford region. I am an author of Wounded Warrior. I am 51. I am single, and I've never been married. Ooh. So this is this is going to be interesting tonight to be able to kind of dive in on this topic. Listening and hearing different perspectives about being single. So it's a pleasure being on tonight.
Well, thank you so much, Elder Unita Ruth, for being a part of Let's Chat. We normally have a great time on this show. We kind of laugh and all this good stuff. We are going to miss James, but we thank God for you filling in for him on tonight. So, guys, I wanted to talk about, on our very first show, we talked about being whole and getting ourselves prepared and ready for marriage. But since that last time, God has been dealing with me about this word wholeness, okay? And I think we have to look at that word wholeness in a very different way when it comes to being prepared and ready for marriage, the way God sees it, and not necessarily the way that we see it. Because I don't know whether or not that we have enough information to determine what is 100% wholeness for someone else, if that makes sense. I think God determines when a person is ready for a relationship. And we can't always say, if you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, okay, boom, you're ready. Because I think that there are so many different ways that God determines when it's the correct time to send someone your way. So I want to talk about, I want to kind of give a little bit of revelation about Luke 5, 1 through 11. Guys, make sure y'all read that in your spare time. But Luke 5 talks about, and we've all heard it, and it talks about how Jesus was having a conversation with the masses, and then he saw some boats on the side, right? He just happened to see some boats on the side. So when he saw Simon Peter, he said, let's go back out. And Peter was like, listen, I'm tired of trying, we've been toiling all night. We haven't caught anything. And as I was reading that, I was really thinking about the way that we try ourselves, that, we're believing God for a mate, and we're believing God for something, and we've been doing it for so long, right? We've been out here doing it for so long, and we're just kind of tired. You're tired of dating. You're tired of seeing somebody. You're tired of messing with immature men or immature ladies. You're just kind of tired always dealing with something. And Peter was saying, listen, I'm tired. I don't want to go back out there because we've been toiling all night trying to catch something, and nothing is there. Then Jesus said this to him. Jesus said, listen, Simon, I want you to throw out your net. And Simon, although Simon was tired, Simon still threw out his net. And that's the piece where I felt like God was illuminating for me that, listen, although you might be tired of the knuckleheads, you may be tired of the dating, you may be tired of people telling you need to be 100% whole, you may be tired of telling people, listen, I'm sick of hearing about y'all married people trying to tell single people not to get married. But when Jesus said, let out thy net, God had already orchestrated for them to be able to have a boat sinking miracle. And so I think we have to be careful when we start talking about 100% wholeness. I'm not saying don't get yourself prepared. I'm saying that you need to let God tell you when to let down your net. Because to me, you may not look like 100% ready, but to God, you're ready. You want to add to that?
Yes. I solely agree, because I don't believe that. First of all, I don't believe it's one thing for everybody. I solely believe that sometimes we don't even feel as if though we might be ready, and sometimes we feel like we are ready, and God is saying no, or God is saying go ahead. And that's what different situations. There's been times, in my life where I felt like I was ready, and I've asked God, God, I've been serving you. I've been serving you since I was 24 years old, wholeheartedly. Okay, and God, I'm not understanding this. I am 51, and may I add that I am 51, and I have no children.
Right.
Let me add that on. Okay, so could I have had kids? Oh, absolutely, I could have. If I had a thought, never in my life would I have ever thought that by now I would not have even been married. Just wouldn't have. But just like Peter said, God, if you tell me to let down my net, I will. So in other words, God, I'm still going to believe you even though I'm tired. I'm still going to believe you even though I see this person get married and I'm trying to figure out how can that be, and then you bring me back in, because it's like everything is not what it looks like. So we have to be careful, even when we're looking at other people. We have to be careful when we are idolizing somebody else's relationship. Oh, this and oh that, da da da. Because everything is not all what it looks like. I just believe that God has saved us from some things, but He has also saved us for the best.
Exactly. I agree with that 100%. And I do think that we have to be careful trying to dictate someone else's journey to marriage, right?
Yes.
I'm learning this. And I also think that not only do we have to be careful about dictating someone else's journey to marriage, we need to also be careful in how we tell people to meet folks, because you know how the Christians love to use this scripture. A man that finds a wife. If y'all don't leave me alone with that, okay? If y'all don't, y'all can miss me with that, okay? Listen, that scripture is not talking about how you meet someone or that the man has to pursue you. That is not the proper explanation of that scripture. That scripture is only saying, because if you just want to look at it, back in the day, nobody found anyone. The parents introduced the wife to the kids, or to the man, or just like David. David's first wife came as a result, as an incentive, when he killed the giant Goliath. That was his first wife. The king said, whoever killed Goliath, that his daughter was an incentive, to David conquering Goliath. So it is not about who's looking for whom, okay? What it is about, what that scripture is actually talking about, is actually talking about that once a man decides to marry a person, right? Once he has the person in his life, he gets married, he obtains favor. It doesn't talk about or never tell the male how, or that scripture is not talking about how someone meets. It's just saying that, listen, once you have identified your wife, there's favor behind it. So I think we have to be careful in even how we tell people to meet people. God has a way from everybody meeting someone differently. I've heard a couple talk about that they were Christians, never went to a club, they don't fool with clubs, but both of their friends on the same night convinced them to go to a club, and they met and got married, and they never been back to a club.
That's it.
Right? So even with my girlfriend, when I set her up with her husband, I never met her husband in person. I met her husband over the phone. We were doing ministry over the phone with a few other folks. And the Lord began to tell me that he would be a good fit for my best friend. I had never seen him. I seen him on a picture, but I had never seen him in person. And so I made sure. So what I did, I introduced them together in January. They met, and then 6 months later they got married, and they've been married about 3 or 4 years now. So I think we have to make sure that we are led by the Holy Spirit when God tells you to do something. If God tells you men to put on an orange tie today, I want to suggest you put on an orange tie today, because your wife may recognize how nice your tie is and compliment you on your tie. Then you start talking, and boom, there go your wife. Same thing, ladies. If God says to you, hey, look, I want you to put on a purple socks and an orange socks, or, 2 different color socks. You're like, no, I'm not about to put on no 2 color orange socks. What I'm saying is that you don't know what God's going to tell you for your mate to recognize you. Or you don't know how God is going to lead you and how to bring that union together. And I do think as Christians, we have to be careful, because we have such a cookie cutter idea of what things should look like. And don't get me wrong, I still think that we should prepare for it. I still think we should prepare for marriage. I still think you ought to get yourself together. I still think you ought to, try to get your finances together. I still think you ought to prepare for it. I still think you ought to work on yourself and your attitude and that kind of stuff. And I think you ought to work on it based on the relationship that you do have in place. Elder Unita Ruth and I have been friends for almost 30 years. And so how I handle conflict with her, 9 out of 10, I'm probably going to have handle the same type of conflict with this person that I'm with. So if you don't know how to handle conflict now, right, then that's something you need to work on.
Right.
And let me tell you, and I know Jesus paid it all, but there's nothing wrong with y'all going to counseling. Okay? I know he paid it all. I know Jesus heals. I know he does, because he's healed me. What I'm saying, that there's nothing wrong with sometimes getting yourself prepared for marriage, and sometimes you need to sit on somebody's couch, not because you're crazy, because you're human.
Yes.
And we have blind spots. And so I think that I think the way you handle relationships now is a clear sign in how you're going to handle your spouse. If you have a girlfriend and you don't know how to handle the conflict with her, 9 out of 10, you're going to do the same thing with the guy. Very few things happen in isolation. If you don't know how to properly communicate now, then this is the time to work on that. So when you do get someone, you can know how to communicate. It amazes me, like I watch, and I do observe women, and I watch how they handle relationships. I watch what they do and that kind of stuff, because sometimes everyone is not as blessed as we are to have friendships for 30 years. I got about 5 or 6 friendships that I've had for 30 years. That really that's a big deal for a woman, because most women can't retain relationships with other women, which I find problematic.
Mm-hmm.
Which I find problematic. Yeah, which I find problematic to some degree. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not saying God ain't gonna send you no spouse because of that. I'm just saying that to some degree, I find it problematic that you have been on the earth for such a long time and you have not cultivated any friendship for a long period of time. And that's even with men. I do think, there's a red flag when you find men and women that do not have relationships that they have cultivated at some point. Well, what do you think?
Well, no, I agree. It's just like you said, you and I been friends almost 30 years, and I have like 4 friends that I don't know my life without them. I've had them for the whole 50, plus years, and I do. I often wonder if I meet, someone, whether it's a man or a lady, and they say they don't have any friends. We all need somebody, if it ain't but one, that's somebody that we can bounce off of. Because then you have to really check yourself. You got to really evaluate yourself and say, but why don't I have a long-time friend? What is it about me? Because, I think we ought to evaluate ourselves first. Yep. I think a lot of times it's so easy to put it on where they was this or they was that or that. But I think we ought to take a good look at ourselves. And I want to say, you mentioned about how we still need to work on ourselves. And that is absolutely true. You know, I share this often with you. You know how I am. I flip off at the lip real fast. Because I've been by myself all this time. You know, so you know, I'm pretty much settled. You know, I'm like settled in my own way. You know, I want somebody, but then I look around and say, well, I don't know if I need them in my space like that. You know, so I have to prepare my mind, and so those are things that I have to work on. Like, you know, don't be too slow to speak. Calm down. Just sit back and listen, because you know, don't no man want to deal with a woman that's always flipping off at the lip like they always know everything. So the truth is that though I may be single and mind you, single and not dating. So who do I have to rehearse this on? I have to rehearse this on B.
Right.
I have to. This is what we do in our friendship, is that we have to do this with one another so that we would know how to properly do this when we get in a relationship. And so you don't need another man to teach you. No, try to fix it before you meet that somebody. And trust me, God will show you the areas that you need to work on. Now, it ain't like we don't already know. Most of us already know, okay?
Right.
We might try to hide it, but we pretty much know who we are. But it's important that we take the time, because guess what? The less baggage you can take into a relationship, the better it is. Because guess what? You're going to accumulate some more issues, maybe not problems, but you're going to accumulate some things when you meet someone. Why? Because you got two people trying to come together.
Right.
You have two people trying to come together. You're trying to learn one another. You know, so you're gonna have to mesh. You're gonna have to mix. That's a whole nother thing all by itself. So the least baggage you can have going in, something as your attitude. You know, listen, we can work on that, and God knows. Listen, I know what type of person I need, but God knows what type of person I need even better.
Right.
He knows even better. And he will send you someone. Listen, I believe this, and I ain't saw it yet. He will send you somebody that will be able to handle you right where you are. He will send someone that will be able to love you right where you are. They're going to meet you right where you are. Does that mean that you shouldn't change? Absolutely not. But he still will send somebody. Listen, I know I need somebody that's stern, that's firm. I get that. Because if he won't be, I will be. And I don't want to. So the truth is that I need somebody that's firm. But guess what? I didn't say I need somebody that's abusive. I said I need somebody that's firm. Okay? So guess what? I believe that God is going to send me somebody that is firm, that's going to be able to say, no, baby, don't you do that. I got this. Now, I need you to be quiet. But he's going to do it all in love. And you know why? Because God understands who I am. And he know if he rise up in the wrong way, then I'll rise up. So the truth of the matter is that he understands who I am, and he's going to send me somebody that's going to be able to deal with me and deal me with love. And guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to sit back. I'm going to sit back because guess what? I know who he is. So the truth is that God, you know, God knows. You know, he knows what we need. He knows who we need, and sometimes we want it, and we want it now. I get it. Hear me. I get it. And I want to talk on a piece about how I want to tell them about one of our friends, Gwen.
Oh yeah, that would be a great example.
Listen, let me just say this. Everybody's journey is different. And I'm going to give you this story. I have a friend here in Connecticut, and she was going to Jamaica on a work assignment. Okay, she worked with the state, going on a work assignment, da-da-da. I said to her when she left, I said, Gwen, don't go to Jamaica and come back and be married. Now here. And she was like, oh, no, you need her. And so she went to Jamaica. The man that picked her up also worked for the state, but he worked for the state in Jamaica. When he picked her up and the rest of the crew from the state, he said he automatically knew that she was his wife. They talked while they were there. They went out to dinner, whole 9 yards. When Gwen came back 3 months later, Gwen said to us, I'm getting married. And we all thought she was losing her mind. I will tell you there was only one person that was on her side, and that was her daddy. Her father said when he looked at her, he knew that she had that look in her eye. He knew that was him. That man called her father on the phone and said, I'm in love with your daughter. I want to ask her hand in marriage. Okay? Listen, that was Gwen went in June. Gwen came back in August. That next January, Gwen was getting married. And again, we all thought she was crazy. They were calling the pastor, da-da-da. Gwen said, I know this is God, blah, blah. I come to tell you that Gwen has been married for 8 years right now.
Right. And even her pastor told her, even her pastor disagreed with it.
He did. She went to him and he said, daughter, I'm sorry, I don't agree. He said, but just know this. If it does not work, you can always come back home. I mean, you can always come back here, whole 9 yards. The man said to her, he had never been to the States before. I am going to stay in Jamaica until I retire. I have 3 more years to retire. Once I retire, I will then come to the States. Now, you know, we thought that was just about as crazy. I mean, I'll be honest with you. We thought the whole thing was crazy. Everybody thought it was crazy to my father. But I'm going to tell you right now that when 3 years was up, she went back and forth to Jamaica to see him. But when 3 years was up and that man retired, guess where he came? He came to the States. When he got to the States, he already had 1 job. Listen, he has 3 jobs. They go to Jamaica only once a year. He left his house over there and everything. He did exactly what he said he would do. He is the most wonderful person. And I had to be one to tell him, it wasn't that we did not trust you. We just loved Gwen. We loved her. And we didn't want nothing to happen to her. And we thought this whole thing was crazy. Why did I say that? I said to say this. Just because he did it one way for one person doesn't mean he's going to do that way for you.
Right.
Yes. We have no idea how God's going to do it. That was so out of the norm for us, for Gwen, for her to go there and meet someone and come back, and then she went back a couple months later to get married. And none of us was going to Jamaica with her. Her mother didn't go, her father didn't, and she had a whole wedding. And the wedding consisted of just his people. But guess what? She's been married. Again, she's been married 8 years now. And she too was in her 50s and didn't have children.
Wow. I didn't realize Gwen was in her 50s. And I didn't realize she was in her 50s.
Oh, Gwen, she's older than me. Gwen is like 50. Gwen was like 53 or 54.
Wow.
When she got married.
But see, this is what I'm saying. And y'all, I'm not saying that the Bible talks about there's safety in a multitude of counselors. We're not saying don't get counsel. What we are saying that when you know God is telling you to let down your net, I suggest you let it down. And everybody don't always have to understand it.
That's it.
That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying once you are assured, right? You got to be assured. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not saying, because I believe that there is safety in a multitude of counselors, and she got that. She just disagreed with it. And said, I know this is God.
Yeah.
And 8 years later, and everybody had to admit that they were wrong.
Yeah. And guess what? My pastor never told her that it wasn't God. He said to her, I don't agree. He never said, Gwen, God said this, and God. He never said that. He just kept saying, daughter, something's not right about this. I just don't agree. And she said to him, I know this is God. I know what God said. And he will admit, whenever her mind is made up and she knows that they had a big reception when he moved here. My pastor stood up and said it. He told the whole thing. She come in the office. I told her I didn't agree. She told me it was God. He said, and once she tell you that it's God, there is no change in her mind because she believes what she believes. Right or wrong, she believes it. But he never told her that God said it wasn't God. He just said, I don't agree. Him, personally, I don't agree. But she was so convinced. that it was God. And what can we say? I mean, what can we say 8 years later?
Only thing you can say 8 years later that, it was her journey to marriage. And that's what I said. You have to know when God is telling you to let down your net. You have to know that. Everybody is not going to always agree with how God is leading you. Now, in this case, if Gwen would have listened to everybody else, Gwen would have been 60, still single. 60-something, still single. Yeah. If she just would have listened to everybody else. What I'm saying is that, guys, this is the time, and I do believe that we are in a different time. I also believe this. This is what I also believe, and I put this on my Facebook, that we're in a season where I believe that God is closing the gap between promise and manifestation. And because of that, you individually, you have to make sure that you are so in tune with your relationship with Christ. So when God tells you to let down your net, and I'm just not talking about when it comes just to relationship. I'm talking about in any area of your life. I don't care if it's business. I don't care if a new job. I don't care if he's telling you to move to another. Whenever he tells you to let down your net, this is the season where you need to be able to hear that and hear it properly. And other people don't have to understand it, especially church people. I'm just telling you, because we've all grown up in church a different way. We all have different experiences, and we all had different experiences. If you come out of Pentecostal, this type of church, or progressive, we all have had different experiences when it comes to church and what is being taught and all that kind of stuff. A lot of times navigate the way we think about how things should be. And I'm going to be honest with you. I am one of those ones. I'm going to just tell you. I'm a rebel. No, I'm not traditional. And nor do I follow everything that's tradition. I do believe that God will lead people to do different, unique things to be able to bring destiny and purpose together. Now, I'm not talking about delusion, okay, and nonsense, okay? I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about delusion and nonsense, and and that kind of stuff, right? I'm not talking about that kind of stuff, because that's what I'm saying. You need to be such in tune with God to where you really begin to understand, listen, I know when God is telling me something. Now, I have a lot of people in my life where I bounce things off, right? I do go and get what they're saying, but there are times where I don't, because I can clearly see and hear what God is saying to me, and that's the direction that I'm going to take. Yeah. Now, if I'm unsure about something, I may go to my mentor, right? If I'm a little unsure about something. But for the most part, when God gives me something, I'm pretty clear about it. I may not know exactly when it's going to happen, how he's going to do it, but if once he speaks a thing to me, I can pretty much get exactly what he's saying. And I think as men and women of God, that we have to make sure that we are paying attention when he tells us to let down our net. And I'm going to go back and tie this in with the 100% wholeness. Listen, y'all, just work on yourself. And God determines when to bring the mate. Because I don't want us being hard on ourselves. Oh, I don't have this done, so I can't get married. I don't have this done, so I can't get married. Yes, of course, we want you all to be prepared as much as possible. Have your identity in check. Know who you are as a person, right? Mm-hmm. If you know you're insecure in an area, stop walking around here acting like you're not insecure. No, take it to God in prayer. And then if you can, go to counseling about that area, right? So you can become better in that area. Don't notice that there's something going on with you, right? And then you pretend like it's not going. And some of y'all so petty. Don't be petty. Don't be petty about things. Right? If you notice that you got a spirit of pettiness, you need to deal with that right now. Because you already know pettiness is not one of the fruits of the Spirit. So what in the world you caring for? No, it's not one of the fruits of the Spirit. So you got to go ahead and take care of that stuff now. If you know you paranoid, what you think, that all of a sudden going to stop when you get a mate? No. It's going to highlight. This is what I told Unita. I said, listen, I was married for 8 years before being divorced. One of the things that I said to her, one of the things that I learned is that now what you see in dating, you can time it by 20 because that's the way it's going to be in marriage. So it may be cute while you dating. Oh, he overtalked me. Yeah, but when you get married and he keep overtalking you, you're going to get snatched. You're going to have an attitude. So you can't call these things that are cute, that's going to be an issue when you get married. No, it's cute now because you all in the honeymoon stages, which I do not believe in. I don't believe in love bombing. I don't believe in the honeymoon stages. No, I believe that you are two people trying to come together, and you need to deal with reality that you both are flawed, and that you both need to extend grace to one another. You both need to have the attitude of service. You both need to have the attitude of forgiveness, and you both need to have the attitude of sacrifice. And if you don't have those three things, I will suggest to you to remain single. And if you selfish, listen, you're gonna make your partner miserable. And you're going to be miserable because selfishness cannot remain in a relationship. I don't care if you're married, if you're not married, even if you're friends, it can't remain in it. So if you self-centered, this is a good time for you to work on that. Because if you don't have those attitudes of forgiveness, sacrifice, and service, you're going to have a very tough time in marriage. Because this is what I noticed, Unita. This is what I noticed, and I noticed this a lot. I noticed that people that are selfish, and especially people that are selfish, always want to be in a relationship. And for what? So you can make somebody else's life miserable? I noticed this a lot. People that are very selfish always want somebody to be in a relationship with. I don't understand that spirit because, and I'm not saying that we are all not selfish in certain areas, but that can't be you can't operate that consistently that everybody know you selfish. That's a problem. Right. Listen to me. Let me give you a good example about things you need to work on. If 2 or 3 people tell you bossy, you probably bossy. Out, and you need to work on it. Yeah. If 2 out of 3 people tell you you contentious, you probably might want to go look at that. You probably want to go take that in prayer. God, this is about the second or third person told me that I have a contentious spirit. God, first of all, I need you to expose that to me, and I need to see what's going on, and I need to be delivered from that. See, there are certain things, and so there are certain things, if you won't listen, God will start allowing 2 or 3 people to tell you the same thing. Everybody, 2 or 3 people tell you moody, and you acting like you ain't moody. No, you moody. Yeah. And you need to deal with that because people don't like to be around moody people. I know I don't. I don't fool with moody people that often because for the most part, I'm just a very happy person. Right. Everybody's not lying on you. Everybody's not lying. What they see, 9 out of 10, they see it because God has highlighted it. Now, that doesn't mean that God doesn't see the best in you. He does. He still sees the best in you, but he still wants you to work on what needs to be worked on. Because, see, if you're not willing to be flexible now, 9 out of 10, you won't be flexible in the relationship that God is going to bring. And you're going to have a hard time. You're going to have a hard time adjusting. And so marriage is not for the feeble. Okay? Let me tell y'all one thing. Marriage is not for the immature. Listen, you in marriage, you have to be more mature than you feel. If you think it's going to be based on feelings, then you are a train wreck ready to happen. You have to be more mature than you feel in every area when it comes to marriage. Even when it comes to sexual, you can't say, okay, I don't feel like having sex today. That's really just not a statement you should be making. Right. You need to have a conversation about why you don't want to have sex at this moment. Right? It can't not just be about the way that you feel. You all need to have a conversation about it. Why? Because you have another person that's involved. And say, hey, honey, I'm tired. Is it possible that we can wait, until tomorrow morning, or let me get myself rested. I'm tired. It's not that I don't want to. Even how you say it matters.
Yes, yes, yes.
How you say it matters. I'm going to say that again. How you say it matters.
It does.
Your tone. And y'all, let me tell you, and I hear a lot of people use this word. Let me tell y'all one thing. Now, this is just me. Y'all take this into God. Y'all take this into prayer. I don't like when people tell other people to shut up. I think the word "shut up" has a very abusive tone to it.
It is. It does.
That word "shut up." I don't care who uses the word "shut up." You have no business. I don't think you have any business telling anybody to shut up, let alone just in a relationship. I just think that word "shut up" has an abusive tone to it. And so if you're using that word now, you might want to ask God to cleanse you from that word, because let me tell you, I think there's a certain way you should talk to your spouse. There's a certain way you should talk to the person that you're in love with, that you're claiming to be in love with. There's a certain way you should talk to that person. You shouldn't talk to that person like you talking to somebody out in the street. And there's something about contentment. There's something about being familiar with people. We sometimes think that we can just kind of talk to them. No. I'm telling you from my own experience of 8 years. There's a certain way you ought to talk to your spouse. And even when you get mad, if you know you're not going to say something that's going to be beneficial, the best wisdom you can use for yourself is don't say nothing. Because see, y'all, once you put it out there, it's out there. Even if you said it just to hurt me, well, that's a whole other different kind of spirit right there. Why would you even try to say something that wants to hurt me? And then why would you put me in a position, and why would you want to provoke me to say something to hurt you? See, all of these things, y'all, we got to pay attention to. Even in dating, I remember dating this guy, and there was something about him that always wanted to provoke me. His criticism of me, I felt like was provoking me to criticize him. But let me tell you, I wouldn't do it. I mean, I would fight it to the T, because I didn't want to be that person. I didn't want to retaliate out of hurt, or retaliate to shut him down, because I'm telling you, you're gonna cause more problems by doing that. Now, I'm not saying take the abuse, right? I'm not saying take the abuse, and I'm not saying that your partner can't tell you something that you need to work on. Because see, now some of y'all, okay, listen. Now let me just put this out there. You're gonna have to give your spouse or the person you're dating with room to complain without retaliation. Okay. Why? Because there are some areas you can do better in. Now, if you don't believe that, then you just in pride. There are areas you can do better in. And if you don't know that, then you are operating in pride, and pride always comes before a fall. You're going to have issues. That's it. You're going to have major issues if pride's going to be the issue. And if you don't want to be vulnerable, then you don't need to be in a relationship. See, all of these things, we really need to sit down with ourselves and say, okay, do we really, 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 in these particular areas that matters? Because let me tell you what I think that really matters. Communication, humbleness, having the spirit of forgiveness. Those three things can set you on a great path in any relationship. But if you struggle with any of those three things, this is the time now as a single person to either get some counseling about it. I think you should get counseling about it, and I think you should go to God in prayer and ask God to help deliver you from that. And how he does that, he uses people. Yeah. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm going to unmute everybody. Okay, y'all, before I unmute y'all, if y'all know y'all got the dogs and the cats and the rats meowing, can y'all go ahead and take care of the animals, okay? When I unmute everybody, if y'all know y'all got the TV on, y'all go ahead and mute the television down, because I want to get any questions or anybody that have any thoughts about what we talked about tonight. I want to get your input on it, okay? So let me unmute everybody. Do we have anybody that would like to make a statement or have a question for Yanita and I?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay.
So like, what if you're single and at this moment you feel like nothing's wrong, like you just kind of going through the process, following God, and at the moment God isn't really showing you anything, you know what I mean? It's specifically pertaining to like, I guess you in relationships. So like, how would you even know whether or not to go forth? I'm guessing.
Okay. Yeah, I understand the question. This is what I would say, because you said the thing that I caught. You said, well, you don't think you don't think nothing wrong with me. But this is what I would do. I would go to God in prayer, and I'll say, God, highlight those things about me that I need to work on before getting into a relationship. Okay. Because you don't even know whether or not you even need to be in a relationship. Because, see, one of the things about women, like, we don't really like to be by ourselves. And I don't think anybody likes to be by themselves, to be honest with you. But I'm going to say this to everyone, and just not to the young lady that's asked the question. Trust me, you would rather be single and deal with a little bit of loneliness than to be married to a knucklehead and live miserable. Yeah. It is no comparison. And listen, I do think that relationships are important for the development of each of us, right? I do. It's just like, sweetheart, when I first got married. Okay, let me give you this, and this is why I said, you think. You got to go to God and you have to ask him, God, bring the hidden things about me to light so I can see who I really am, right? Because one of the things that when I first got married, there were some things in me that I didn't know that was in there. And I thought I was all holy, sanctified, bless the Lord. I mean, I was so gold dust on your whoo. I mean, Jesus coming on in, right? Listen, I thought I just thought I was the bomb.com in the Lord. Listen, when I got married, there's some things that came out of me that I didn't even know that was in there. And the same time that I was recognized that I was crazy, he was recognizing I was crazy at the same time. We was getting the same revelation at the same time, and vice versa. Okay, and vice versa. He was getting that revelation, and I was getting that revelation. Same thing with him. There were some things coming out of him that he thought that he had laid at the altar, and so when he was recognized he was crazy, I was recognizing at the same time. So we were both recognizing at the same time, getting the same revelation about each other. Whoa, we got some things that we got to work on. Now, this I do believe that there are some things you're not going to be able to see until you get married. I just believe that God reserves it for marriage, so you can be sharpened, so that so he can deal with you about some things. But there are some things now that we don't really know because we're by. Oh, B, cut it off.
B, you off?
Nessie got cut off. Your knees are still on.
You got cut off?
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, we'll give a minute. She will come in. And I think what she was saying is there are some things in regard to marriage that you won't know until you get married. And that's with any relationship. Because you know how our grandparents used to tell us, you don't know a person till you live with them, and that is the absolute. That is the absolute truth. But I agree with Prophetess Bernadette, is that go to God in prayer, pray about those things, and I'm telling you, when you pray, bring all hidden things to light. Be ready for what He brings out, because when you pray that prayer, He's going to reveal it. And it's not to say that it's bad or you're bad. It's just the things that you need to work on as an individual. You know, I've been on this single journey myself. As I say, I'm 51 years old. I've had some good days and I've had some bad days. There have been times when I threw out my net, but I'll be honest, there's been some times when I picked my net back up. Huh? B, are you there?
I want to go. Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
So, did that answer your question, beautiful?
Yeah, for the most part.
Okay. 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 So look, we'll talk about it some more off left chat. Do we have any other questions or anybody would like to make statements?
Hi.
Hi.
When you say, Bernadette, when you were saying to let down your net, where do you let your net down? Where are safe places to let down your net?
I think letting down your net, I think God is going to direct you where to let down your net. I don't think that net is for everybody. I think the way he goes, where he tells you to let down your net, he may tell me something different. But wherever that is, and that's where I feel like that this is the season that we have to be more in tune with God about what he's telling us to do. Because he may send you to a conference and tell you to let down your net there. But he may send me to public and say, let down your net. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know we had a conversation not too long ago when we was talking about T.D. Jake's wife, how she approached T.D.
That's right.
She sent him a note or something like that. So is that what you're saying, letting out your net?
Exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. That how she felt led, right? So the conversation was, everyone, that we were talking about there are different ways how God will lead you to meet your spouse. And so what T.D. Jake's wife, I think he was at some church or at some conference, and she felt led to write him a note. And she sent the note to him. She sent the note to him. And from that, they got together. It's the same thing I think would happen with Kathy and Creflo Dollar. I think she felt led to approach him, and he must be teaching a Bible study or something on the college campus or something like that. But she felt led to say something to him or to say, I'm interested, and then he pursued her. But guess what? There's other times where God will lead the guy to come to you. You just got to be in the right place. So if he tells you to get up, don't think it's strange if he says, get up, put on some clothes, and I want you to get drop dead gorgeous and go to Lowe's. I'm gonna need you to get up and go to Lowe's.
So how do you know the difference between being led and then like just being thirsty?
Good. Well, I think thirsty has to do with desperation.
Right. Okay.
I think thirsty has something to do with desperation, and this is what I mean about desperation. You got man on the brain. You can't even think about doing nothing else. Everything is about a man. Everything's about a man. That's not healthy. Because I'm gonna tell you one thing: you're gonna have to trust God when it comes to you're gonna have to trust God about sending somebody to you, and even if you decide not to, you're gonna have to trust the wisdom of God when it comes to that. And I think, and I'm gonna be honest with you, my fear for a lot of women and men is that if God decides on this side of heaven that he's not going to send us a spouse, can we mentally and emotionally handle it? And this is why I'm saying you got to be in tune with what God is saying to you. Have God said to you specifically, I'm going to send you a mate. And yes, he gives us the desires of our heart. But what if God, that didn't come to 10 or 20 years later? What you going to do? You going to be like Sarah and tell Abraham to go sleep with Hagar? You going to try to make it happen? You going to try to force the promise to happen? What I'm saying is, it's just like Elder Unita Ruth. She has never been married. Never been married. There are some folks on here that have never been married. Right? So they are sincerely still believing God to be married in their 50s.
Yep.
Because God has given them a promise. So if you're desperate and if you're thirsty, first of all, men and women can tell that initially, and they don't have to even be saved to tell you when you're desperate. Right? I can tell you that salvation don't have to be a part of your life for you to recognize when somebody is desperate for something. And that's a turn on. and that's a turn off. To most people, most of the time, it comes out of desperation, right? You're doing unhealthy things to gain attention. And so that's why I would say first, build that relationship with Christ. If y'all, you can't, let's not skip the process. Let's build that relationship with Christ to where he's really leading and guiding us when to drop that. Listen, let me tell y'all. When I listen to everything God said, if I think God said going to Food Lion, if I'm wrong, I'm going to Food Lion. If I think He's saying I'm gonna drop that, I'm gonna go to Food Lion. What I'm saying, I'm just saying, because what if God is really telling me to go to Food Lion? Let me give y'all another example. There was this guy, I think he attended Right Direction, and I think he gave his testimony. There's a church here in Columbia, South Carolina, and he was going to like this like this big show, like trade show, and he's a caterer. And so he specifically heard the Holy Spirit say to him, wear this orange tie. He got the orange tie, right? He wore the orange tie. When he got there was this lady that complimented him on his tie. Well, how about it was a lady over some big restaurant or big event or something, and because of his tie, it caught her attention, and he was able to get the contract for his business. And I'm not talking about a little contract. So you see what I'm saying? Over a tie. He listened to the Holy Spirit say, wear this orange tie. And then it landed him a 3-figure deal. I'm saying listen to the details when God tells you something. That's your net. That's when He's telling you to let down your net. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
Do we have any more questions or a statement? Okay, well, you need it. You have any closing remarks?
No, what I will say is you were talking about desperation just a minute ago, and what I will say is people. I'll say this: what I've been told. Church people always want to make you think that you should not, seek God about a mate.
Right.
And they often say, "Oh, single people need to be doing the things of God." Let me tell you something. I've been doing the things of God for a very long time. Okay?
Right.
Now, I'm just gonna say this. I've been doing the things of God for a very long time. Then they say, well, if you do this, then you'll get a man. Listen, I've been celibate for a very long time. All right.
Come on.
So the truth of the matter is a lot of stuff that these folks tell us. Listen, it ain't worth nothing no way. Just pray, seek God, and I'm telling you, I just told you, I pick up my net, and sometimes I pick it back up, I let it back down. See what I tell you. Sometimes I get discouraged, sometimes I get frustrated. But what I will say to you is never allow desperation to make you make the wrong decision.
Right.
Because desperation to make you just go out there and get married. Why? Because all your friends married.
Right.
Desperation to make you go out and get married because you think you're getting old and I need to have a child and I need to do this and I need to do that and I got to do it by 35 or I got to do it by da-da-da, what statistics say. But the truth of the matter is we need to do it when God say do it. Because listen, it is nothing more important than being in the perfect will of God.
Come on.
Amen.
The perfect will of God is the best place to be. And listen, did I think my life would turn this way? Absolutely not. I had my life planned. I had my life planned out to the T. It didn't work not one way I thought it would work. But guess what? I would not trade this way for the way that I had already intended. So what I will say,
that's good.
as single people, hold on to what God has said. God has not forgotten you. God knows, listen, He said, I know the plans that I have for you. Let's hold on to what He said. Come hell or high water. You got to get up and say, but God, I still trust you. When everybody else around you look like they're prospering and they look like God is blessing them and He hasn't forgot you, remember this right here. He has not forgotten you. He has not forgotten you. He's seen your tears. He know your inner thoughts. He know how you feel. He know all of that, and he's preparing the right person for you. But we have to wait on that right person. We have to wait on that person. Listen, there have been times when you talk about doing what God said, there have been times God tell me to get up, put this on, put that on, and go. And you know what? I do exactly what God said, only to get back in my car and say, God, now what you tell me to do that for? There wasn't nobody there. But guess what? But the next time he told me to do it, I did it again. Because guess what? One of these days he's going to tell me to do it, I'm going to do it, and that's going to be it. Listen, Valentine's, I wasn't going nowhere but to the grocery store, okay? I got up, put my black leather pants on with my black boots and a big brim hat with a red coat. That's what he told me to put on. That's where I went, to the grocery store. Came back home, took them clothes off, cooked my dinner, and sit down. Was I discouraged? Absolutely not. I did what he told me to do, whether there was a result of it or not. I still did what he told me to do. So my encouragement is keep believing God. That's what I have for you. Keep believing, keep trusting him. He's going to do it. I get it. You don't want no more prophecy. You don't want nobody telling you nothing. I get it. I came up one time, I told God, I don't want another soul prophesying to me about marriage here. I'm tired of hearing it, blah, blah. Because we do have those days where we're tired. We're tired. But we're still going to trust God. So even in the midst of your aggravation and your frustration, don't ever make that cause you to make an error. Because guess what? You can be married and still lonely.
What you say? Listen, I'm a witness.
Listen. Elder B used to be married and going to the movies by herself.
What you say? By myself, talking about
by
can I have a kid's hat?
Listen, you can be married. I would rather listen. I enjoy my single life. Please understand this now. I have enjoyed. Do I want to be married? Absolutely. But let me say this to you. I have enjoyed my single life. I go when I want to. I come back when I want to. I don't have to answer to nobody. When I go out to eat, I go out to eat by myself. And I have a circle of friends that are not married, that are much older than me now. They're older. They're not my age. They're older, you know. And the truth of the matter is, I learn who you are, because you guess what? When God sends me a mate, guess what that means? That means he's gonna add on to who I am, because I already know who I am. He's gonna be an addition to who I am, because I already know who I am. Listen, I'm the same person. I'm not waiting on a man to do that. I bought my dream car last year.
Tell them what it is, Ruth. Tell them what it is.
I bought a 528 Exide BMW last year. That was my dream car. Okay, I bought that. I get my degree on June the 6th. I graduate with my degree. I've already written a book. I wrote a book 2 years ago.
Ruth, tell them about you're gonna be the speaker of the class.
Absolutely, I'm the commencement speaker of the 2021 graduation.
Don't play with Jesus.
Don't listen. I mean, I am who I am, and I believe that God had all these things lined up according to this, so that when somebody meet me, they don't feel like they have to. They don't feel like they're doing me a favor. You're not doing me a favor. We're coming together to make something great. I already know the type of person that God has told me that was coming in my life. Guess what? He ain't too far behind me. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day. So we're going to come together and do great things, not only in the gospel, but even in the marketplace.
Right.
Even in the marketplace. So we're going to come together to be a force to be reckoned with.
Well, guys, we hope y'all enjoyed this session. Listen, y'all, let's give you Elder Ruth. We just thank God for her being a part of Let's Chat this evening. We appreciate her input. We thank God for her wisdom. We just thank God for her coming from a different perspective never being married, never having any children, but yet desiring those things, but yet she's still holding on. We thank God for that. Y'all, we are normally done at 7, but sometimes the Holy Spirit will lead us a little over. So I don't want anybody to think, oh, did they stay on there too long? No, we're normally done at 7, but sometimes we allow the Holy Spirit to take over when needed. So we thank you all so much. I will tell James that you guys missed him, and he will be back next month. Okay, y'all. James will be back next month with Left Chat. And so, y'all, we appreciate you all so much for coming in and just taking the time. And just like I said, just taking the time. Y'all could be doing anything else, but y'all decided to come support Left Chat, and I want you all to know that I appreciate that. Please go and be blessed. Do not forget that this is the season where God is going to he's closing the gap between promise and manifestation. So there's some things that he's promised you all. I want to leave you with that. There's some things that he's promised you all. It's getting ready to come to pass. Okay, have a good night, and I love